So a new rumor is going around that Sony is blocking Marvel Studios from using certain villains that they use in their Villainverse movies. Yes, I call it the Villainverse because I can't remember the SPUMP, the SSU, all these abbreviations they've been through. But I want to take a look at the details behind this because I thought that was always the case, but let's check out this update. All right, so this is published in comicbookmovie.com and it's coming from Daniel RPK, who has a pretty good track record in all of this. Now, let's check out the rumor here that says a new rumor is claiming that any villain introduced in Sony Pictures Spider-Man based movies blocks Marvel Studios from using that same character down the line, which is very complicated. I mean, especially with the Spider-Man character, it really sucks that we won't be able to see some of the MCU version of these characters. Let's continue reading. It says the current deal in place between Sony Pictures and Marvel Studios when it comes to how Spider-Man can be utilized on screen tends to lead to some confusion, and it sounds like there may be more to it than we realized. Sony maintains the rights to Spider-Man and all of his villains and supporting characters, but the deal allows Marvel Studios to have Tom Holland's wall crawler appear in their movies, in-game, etc., while the solo Spider-Man films remain the Sony Marvel co-productions. Sony has been forging ahead with his SSMU. There you go, SSMU. I was like, I don't know what it's called at this point, but according to Daniel Rittman, whenever Sony uses a villain, they block Marvel Studios from using them, which means there aren't many left for MCU Spider-Man to face off against. We're not exactly sure what this means for Sony Marvel co-production the upcoming Spider-Man 4, but would Sony really prohibit Marvel from using a character in a project they also have a major stake in? We do know that having Holland's Spidey face off against Venom, Tom Hardy, continues to be a complicated issue, and this could explain why. So, it sounds like to me, and this is exactly what the article's saying, whenever they use a villain, the MCU is not allowed to use it, but that's such a weird stipulation because what sucks is that, okay, the MCU can introduce a villain, but that means that Sony can use it. The biggest example being Adrian Toomes, aka Vulture, going from Homecoming over to Morbius. So that's a weird crossover. It makes me wonder if those characters from Marvel's, the MCU Spider-Man universe, if they can go over to this Villainverse, no problem, but not vice versa, which is very concerning considering Tom Hardy's Venom briefly popped up at the end of No Way Home and then was briefly blipped back. Also, why can't the MCU just make their own versions of these characters? I wouldn't mind seeing Kraven the Hunter in their own version. Honestly, even Aaron Taylor Johnson would be awesome to pop up and battle Tom Holland. But it's really crazy that they won't be able to use that villain at all. So if Rhino is going to be in Kraven the Hunter, that also leaves out Rhino. So that means you wouldn't be able to use Venom, Carnage, Rhino, Kraven, Morbius. I would say those are some decently sized, with the first three being huge. Venom, Carnage, and Kraven the Hunter are big Spider-Man villains, and it would suck to not be able to use those villains in the MCU. Madame Web, I could do without. Morbius, but man, Venom, Carnage, and Kraven, like, those are huge Spider-Man villains, and to not be able to use them is very disappointing. Let's continue on here. It says, even if this is accurate, Spider-Man has one of the most extensive, varied bad guy rosters of any hero. That's very true. So there's still plenty of villains. I mean, yeah, Scorpion's still on the table, who seemed to be teased at the end of Homecoming. Shocker is also, you can bring Shocker back. There's Prowler of their own version. There's plenty that they can do here in order to continue with the Spider-Man villains. I mean, there's so many villains in Spider-Man's rogues gallery. But man, I mean, Sony is just using some big ones, and it makes me concerned for their villain lineup down the line. Like, let's say, for example, Kraven the Hunter and Venom 3 are both box office successes. What does that mean for the future of the MCU Spider-Man and his villains? Does that mean they are going to take some of those more bigger named villains like Scorpion, Chameleon, make movies out of them, and then that bars Marvel from being able to use that in any of the MCU Spider-Man films? That just feels like very invasive to me. Because wouldn't Sony be jumping through hoops to get their characters in the MCU? Let's be 100% honest. No Way Home made almost $2 billion. Far From Home, I want to say made $1 billion. Homecoming made a lot of money. Listen, it's weird to me that they see, okay, we're going to keep these people over here, but Morbius flatlined at the box office and so did Madame Web. And if Kraven does the same, wouldn't it be to Sony's benefit to lend these villains to the MCU in order for the MCU to keep on making their movies and make a lot of money for Sony? I don't know what they're doing with this villain-verse stuff, but I know it works for Venom. It has not worked for anybody else, and that's because none of these villains are well known enough to stand on their own. Yeah, Venom is huge in Spider-Man lore, and most people who know Spider-Man, even just from games or whatever Spider-Man media, know Venom. They may not know Madame Web. They may not know Morbius. They know Kraven, which is another big villain, so I'm wondering if Kraven is going to have a big box office, or at least a sizable one that can make it make sense for them to keep making these movies. Let's continue on, see if there's anything else in the article. Rumors aside, we still know very little about Spider-Man 4. So yeah, it looks like that was about it. Yeah, that was about it when it comes to that there. But yeah, that's very disappointing. You guys let me know what Spider-Man villain you would like to see, and hopefully we don't express too many villains, because Sony could be looking at our posts like, okay, they want that villain, okay, they want Chameleon, okay, we're gonna pluck and make movies with these little villains, and the MCU, good luck, I guess you'll have to make your own villain. So it's just a little disappointing that Marvel Studios is not allowed to dip into the villain pot and take some of these people, because honestly, Aaron Taylor Johnson as Kraven, if you were to tell me he was like the Spider-Man 4 villain and not, forget the Kraven movie, we have Aaron Taylor Johnson playing Kraven in a Spider-Man 4, dude, I'm so down for that. Or, hey, listen, maybe Tom Hardy's Venom does become evil and is the Venom that we know from the comics, and he is the one that pops up in Spider-Man 4. We get the black suit, and oh my gosh, I'm gushing, y'all. I feel like it's a mistake by Sony's part, and I don't know why Sony doesn't just get Venom 3 out there, get done with those movies, and then license most of the stuff over to Marvel just to make the movies, you know, like co-license and still have the rights to those characters. But wouldn't you say, hey, Far From Home, No Way Home, and Homecoming made us so much money. How about the live action stuff? We allow Marvel Studios to produce those things, and then the animated stuff we continue with. I don't know, y'all. Listen, I'm just a movie watcher. I'm not the one in charge, but I feel like that seems like a logical option. Again, you guys let me know your thoughts down in the comments. How are we feeling about Sony barring the Marvel Studios from using any Spider-Man villains? This is rough, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And hey, if you're new to the channel, the name is Leo Rydell, and here on Geekly Goods, we drop a geeky video every single day, whether that's a reaction, review, or news in Marvel, DC, movies, and TV. Y'all hit me up on that subscribe button, y'all, and we'll see you next time on Geekly Goods.